Welcome back, everybody. In the last video you watched us pour the concrete slab for the barn, and in this video we're going to be actually framing the barn. So what we're doing right now is we are getting ready to lay out all of our posts. We're going to do like a post frame style barn, and because each one of these brackets might be slightly off, we are using this string line from one side to the other to make a level line across all these 2x6s, and then as you'll see we are going to put the 2x6 next to the 4x6 post. We'll mark it, and then we're going to measure off of our chalk line a certain amount, and that's where we're going to start our layout. I hope that wasn't too convoluted, but as you can see we're doing a horizontal strapping, purlins, I don't know what you want to call them, but we're doing it every 2 feet up. They're going to be 2x6s, and then at the top we're going to notch out for our 2x10 headers. Day one is done. I got probably another hour of sunlight, but it's getting windy, storm's blown in. I haven't eaten anything all day. I'm tired. We had some setbacks, and the next thing to do is start on the front of the barn. So that means full layout again, doing beams, doing all sorts of shit. So I don't feel like doing that right now. I want to go inside and sit and eat something. So I'm gonna go do that. And when we left off yesterday, it was windy and getting dark. Now it's getting light. Well, it's been light for a while. It's about 9. Still windy, but now it's snowing too. So the plan is to do our 8-foot wall, do all the beams for it, and stand it up. So let's see how that goes. If you saw the concrete pad video, you'll know I had taken a couple weeks off of work to get this barn done, so I didn't have the luxury of waiting until better weather to do it. So unfortunately, I was stuck doing all of the framing during a snowstorm, or most of it, and then most of it after the snowstorm. But we just did the front just like we did the back, as you saw earlier. We marked out all those posts the same way using a chalk line to get our layout, and then we did 2x10s for the headers, and then we just notched in so the inside 2x10 is sitting on top of the 2x6, and then we have 2 structural screws going into each post, so that should hold them there as well and help with that. And then otherwise the 2x6s we put across, we just nailed them with about 3 nails into every post, so those are pretty strong there. As you can see, I used them as a ladder the whole time I was doing it. And then as you can see, what I'm doing here is we're going to have 2 barn doors in the front of the barn and then 1 on the side. So I added those vertical 2x6s on the side to frame out our side barn door, and then on the front I built that box to frame out our front barn door, and I'm just putting the same horizontal 2x6s across to support all of the sheathing. And then in a second here you'll see me build the last barn door for the front. Once again, I just used 2x6s and built a box and then put it in place, and then we put 2x6s across it so that the vertical 2x6 we're using to be the edge of the doorway is connected into that post, which will give it some shear value. After we got done with this, we went ahead and started working on our 10-foot overhang, or the post and the beam that we're going to support the 10-foot overhang off the front of the barn. As you can see, we used the same system to get our layout. We just transferred a chalk line off of a 2x6 that was sitting in the bracket onto our actual beam, or onto our post, I should say. And since we didn't have 2x6 purlins going across to hold up the metal on these, we just had to cut out and notch out on all of our posts where the beam was actually going to sit. And as you can see, once we actually start lifting the sections into place, we kind of lifted a section at a time, and then there would be a gap where we need to set a beam in between those sections, and we went back later and set those beams in between the sections. You'll see kind of what I mean, because we're setting this one, and then we'll have like a 10-foot space in between our next one, and then we have this one. So we're not setting all 42-foot like whole beam and post sections up all at one time. That would just be kind of hard to do and wouldn't work very well. Your way. Back my way. Okay, I'm setting up. Cool. Got it. Yeah. So this beam that we're setting right here is for our 14-foot overhang off of the side of the barn. We're going to have this large overhang off of the side and be able to pull our trailer and a truck into that space and have a little covered parking space and a little covered working area off the side. The post we're setting now was the biggest one. This was the 12-foot tall post to support the 14-foot beam, but towards the 12-foot side of the barn because we're just doing a shed roof. As you can see, we kind of strapped the ladder down to the trailer to be able to get this beam up here, because otherwise it would have just been too tall. I only have a 10-foot ladder. Actually, I think it's an 8-foot ladder, so we couldn't really get to the top safely otherwise. I know this wasn't the most detailed video that we've put out. This is the first time I've ever framed a post frame or post and beam style anything. If you're looking for someone who's super knowledgeable, check out RR Buildings if you haven't already. They have some super detailed videos about how to do this stuff. We're just kind of figuring it out as we went, and it was snowing for most of the busiest day where we framed most of the actual barn. So stay tuned. Our next video of doing the roofing will be a lot more in depth. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, and give us a like if you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, I can try to explain things in more detail in the comments below.